Procurement Infrastructure Knowledge Management Program, led by National Treasury, has hosted its first summit. The practitioners coming together to establish a common approach for the resolution of difficulties contributing to irregular, fruitless and wasteful expenditure. For more on this, we're joined now by the Acting Chief Director at Capacity Building within the National Treasury, Thabo Mashamba. Mr. Mashamba, thank you very much for your time. Talk us through what the purpose of the summit you are hosting as National Treasury seeks to do exactly.
Thanks, Toli, and good day to your viewers. Indeed, we are hosting the summit, which is intended to serve as a platform through which we share the information with the practitioners from procurement as well as infrastructure management, especially those who are working at local government. And the idea there is to ensure that the support, the financial support that we are getting from our development partner, the Swiss government, we are able to share that information with the rest of the officials throughout the country, as opposed to just stick or contain it within the two piloted provinces.
Okay, a very interesting point you bring there, and you're talking about the Swiss government and the support they are giving us. Before I drill deeper into the problems or the challenges, as most government officials would put it, what is the role exactly of the Swiss government?
Well, you will remember clearly that as a country you will have relationship with other nations. And that there will be one-on-one kind of agreements where one government will say we will provide some support to improve maybe the lives of your people. And to that end, the Swiss government, on the basis of that relationship, or the bilateral relationship between South Africa and their government, they have committed about 100 million rand, which they said they want to assist the South African government to improve its procurement as well as infrastructure management, because you will remember that if we don't enhance our system, you quite often get wasteful, fruitless expenditure. If the procurement process is not enhanced, if those people who are working in this space are not well trained. So the idea there is to say, how do we make a contribution to make sure that we improve on the service delivery? Because if procurement processes are not well managed, sometimes municipalities will end up maybe not utilizing the money because of the delayed processes. If you talk of infrastructure management, which is one of the key priorities of the presidency, if you want to maintain your infrastructure, you need to have people who understand very well what processes need to be followed, what needs to be put in place, so that you don't just put an infrastructure. If you think of in other areas, they can put maybe a library. And when you budget for that, you also need to think of maintaining that program beyond the completion phase. And those are the areas that this program is intended to address. And to make sure that we not only focus on the duration of the program, because it's a 5-year agreement that started in May 2018. And we are saying we need to make sure that we sustain this beyond the support. And we also have to make sure that we extend it to other provinces and the municipalities on an ongoing basis.
Mr. Mashamba, let's do this, because this is one interesting conversation I cannot paper over, and so we need to get some detail from you. This is a very worthy conversation. Just moments ago, I had a conversation with someone from the Eastern Cape, a government official, talking about monies having been returned to National Treasury because those monies could not be used, I suppose, for the financial year. And you use the word training. I want to drill deeper into that, but please stay with us. We're going to take a break and continue the conversation in a moment. If you're just joining us, we are in conversation with Thabo Mashamba. He is the Acting Chief Director of capacity building at National Treasury, and we're talking issues of wasteful expenditure, fruitless spending, irregular spending that we talk about almost on a daily basis from government officials who simply are unable to do their jobs. Mr. Mashamba, let's pick up on the point of training, and I want to use living examples. Just, I think about a week ago, we were reporting from the Eastern Cape, a bridge had essentially collapsed, and villagers of that particular area could not cross a river, and they had to be helped by being placed inside a drum, and the drum sealed, and someone swims across with this drum. You can imagine the dangers that come with that. You also have, still in the Eastern Cape province, where the delivery, or should I say the non-delivery of textbooks, including infrastructure spending, that could not be, or whose monies could not be spent by the HOD at the Department of Education. That has resulted in the HOD of Education in that province being suspended. These are just some of the issues that I suspect you are trying to address with this summit. What is the level of capacity when you assess whether it be a provincial level, but I would venture and say perhaps the most important is local government, because that's the interface that people experience delivery or non-delivery?
Okay, thank you for that question. You know the modality of the program that we are running, which we call PINK, is designed in a manner that we get a technical advisor who is sitting at the municipality. Talking about the training, our approach is not just to put people in a class or in a room where we take them through the processes, but the technical advisor goes to a municipality, sits with the officials. We are talking of people with experience in that field. So they impart the skills to the relevant officials. So the condition that we put forward for the municipalities that we are supporting was that there must be a full-time municipal manager, full-time CFO, full-time infrastructure management officers, so that they can sit with the technical advisors who will teach them to do the work. And over and above that, capacitation is not only going to individuals, because if you restrict it to that, it means that the moment those people leave the municipality, then the municipality is likely to collapse, and we end up having the issues that you cited in the two examples, because reliance is now on few individuals. On the other side, we also capacitate the organization itself. So we look as to whether the municipality has got standard operating procedures, it's got the guidelines, the frameworks that will guide the officials in terms of what procurement processes have to be followed. And you gave a very good, a typical example for that matter, because when it comes to infrastructure, I think there's still a lot of gap, especially when it comes to planning for the infrastructure. Planning and execution, as well as procurement thereof, because there must be a linkage between infrastructure planning as well as procurement processes. And quite often, because people are lacking that understanding, that's where you find some of the programs or the projects, they just stuck along the way, because there was no planning of procuring a certain material when a project reaches a certain phase. So the approach now is to say, can we then develop the toolkits that are simplified to address the issue of infrastructure development as well as infrastructure management, so that you don't have these hiccups and project maybe along the way they get stuck simply because the procurement for material that has to come on board to finish the project were not clearly clarified. So it's hands-on approach as well as developing the kind of frameworks. And in this summit, those are the information that we are sharing to among the stakeholders. And we are saying we also have to make sure that we create a portal If you think of the name of this program, we call it PINK, which stands for Procurement, Infrastructure Management, and Knowledge Management. Because in the past, we have had several interventions, but unfortunately, after the end of those interventions, we didn't store the information, the knowledge that we gathered through these processes. And now we are saying we are going to create a portal which will be easily accessible by all who need the information, so that they are able to replicate as well as making use of these toolkits that are developed to make sure that we avoid a recurrence of the challenges that has become order of the day. Every time we keep hearing of stories like that.
Thabo Mashamba, let's leave it there for the moment. We look forward to the outcomes of that summit, and it is one area that the country needs to keep a focused approach on. Thank you very much, the Acting Chief Director of Capacity Building within the National Treasury, holding a summit to train government officials.